So let's start. Um, so my name is Keshav Jain and I'm in the industry for last 14, 15 years. Although it doesn't look like everyone will think like I was passed out from college or something. That's the thing. I'm here for 14, 15 years and I worked on many domains. And I understand like security is something should be there, like from the beginning of the application that you are making. I mean, security is not the responsibility of your IT or the team which asks you to do the trainings, right? Or the team which asks you to maintain the compliance, right? It's not their responsibility. They are the people who will be pushing you for those working, but it's an individual responsibility, right? Um, so we know, like like everyone like working on the cloud, right? But so we all know like how easy it is to work on the cloud, right? We just need a virtual machine, go to Azure portal and just 4 5 clicks, right? And now we have people in the cloud team who are making the templates also. So you just have to deploy. But then think of that, like you deployed the machine, but you left some code opens, right? It's very much prone to the security attacks, right? So these are the things which we have to keep in mind while working on the applications or developing the solution. So although I will not talk about the security, but I will talk about the concept of the zero trust. And especially inside the zero trust has few principles. The third principle is to limit the blast radius. Right? So I will talk about how you can limit the blast radius. It's not about that blast happen and not that blast radius whenever the blast happens on your data on your network, right? How you can limit it, right? See, the truth and the fact is there is no guarantee that you are protected from the ransomware, right? Today or tomorrow or maybe in the future, you are very much prone to the ransomware. Your company, your data, everyone is keeping an eye on the data. If you are in the limelight. Uh, Today or somewhere somebody might be doing the reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is just a technique. I mean, whenever some theft happen at home, right? It's not some random burglar will come and enter your home. They'll come to your place and do some kind of pressing, right? They will observe how many guards are there, what time you go office, what time you come back. Same type the reconnaissance attack also happens. The intruder will keep an eye on your environment. Whenever they find okay, they have a few virtual machines with unsecured ports, open ports, then they will panic, right? So how we can stop this kind of attack is keeping a full eye on the things which we are doing. Know about your infrastructure, how much shadow IT we have, how much our endpoints are protected, right? So let's start. So I occasionally do some tweets about the security. My Twitter handle is KeshavJain13 and I do some blogs on Azure Sentinel. I work on a technology called Microsoft Sentinel. Uh, not sure if you are aware, but it's a SIEM, Security Incident Event Management. That's like a monitoring from the security point of view. If something happens, then there will be the incident generated. People will be notified, and then they act on the incident. So that's overall concept is collecting the data, running analysis over it, and generating the meaningful alerts in the incident. So that's concept called SIEM on which I work. Uh, a disclaimer, it's very important. Whatever I am talking, it's my own personal view. I mean, I'm not representing my employer. Uh, and whatever the content I prepared, it's taken the help from the Microsoft site, blogs, or third party blogs, right? I mean, I'm not representing either the Microsoft nor my company. It's all are my own blogs, right? Uh, this is not to scare you, But the truth is truth. I mean, we cannot change it. Uh, Nowadays, after the war, Russia, Ukraine, we see in the news channels the war is happening. There are tanks coming from here and there. There is another war which is also happening in the background, right? Uh, Data is the new oil, right? Everyone is keeping an eye on the oil as well as the new oil, which is the data, right? A lot of cyber attack is also going on, right? This data is a bit old, 2021. These many the number of incident reported incident, right? Not the total incident, only the reported incident. It's growing, and it will grow like that only. So you can see like. Um, 100% of the businesses, some data, I mean, just for the interpretation purpose, you can do a search on this data, not a big thing. So, the threat landscape, right? So, we as an engineer, we think like we are the developers, we are the one who develop the application, right? The same kind of industry also exists that's called dark web. There also they do conferences like the way we do. They also have the techniques, right? They are all because their work is to attack, to make an attack or take a ransomware, right? They also have their own dark community. They work in a night time, we work in a daytime. Just a joke. So I mean, they are also like adapting a lot of sophisticated methods, right? It's not that they will just try to ping your website and if the ping is working, they will do a ping. They have their own tools for doing these all. They have PowerShell, all kind of script. PowerShell is just a small script, but Python, PowerShell, everything is there, right? It's not like movies. I mean, or a Bollywood movie for making attack, they will just open DOS brand and run the dir command, green, black, and we think, okay, Ritik Roshan is a hacker, right? It's not like that. They have their own good tools, right? So just I let's turn it off. I think it's audible, right? So the concept is the way we are growing, the attacker are also growing. They are also finding out new ways of making attacks or uh, extracting the machines, extracting the money, right? These are the trends. Cloud service, cloud ultimately it runs over the internet, right? If and don't assume that you are purchasing the cloud. The cloud provider will take all the responsibility of the security, right? There is a concept called shared responsibility. Once you look into that chart, then you understand cloud will provide the security at their level, right? But you also have to adopt security mechanism, right? Like the way we talk IAS, PAS, SaaS, right? SaaS most of the security will be provided by the provider, right? But if somebody is stealing your password, then even the provider cannot do anything, right? Somebody has stolen the password, he got a access. Then I mean, for the security provider, sorry, the solution provider, it's just a new user, right? But so this way is the responsibility of the users, the organization who is providing the SaaS application. So let's assume that you have one we have SAP on the cloud, right? SAP is a big custodian of the data. I mean, they have enterprise data, a lot of things are there. And somebody somehow created a fake account by running some PowerShell because your Azure I mean, the Graph API Michael was talking about, right? But somehow they got access to your Graph API. They ran a PowerShell. They deployed the account. They got a secret key, and with that, they are doing the lateral movement. Lateral movement is slowly moving inside your organization, right? They created the account for the SAP because they think it's a legitimate account. Whatever the permission they have, that user will get the permission, and he can also extract the data and post it. He can post it on the web or ask for the ransomware. So these all things are there, and the concept of the zero trust is to prevent you, not stop. Nobody can stop these things. Just to prevent. How much we can prevent, how much we can reduce. That's the thing. So we talk about never trust, always verify. the sentence is bit complex or contradictory, because we our CEO comes in the day we join the company. They say we have a trust in you to develop a new product, and I am telling never trust, always verify. So it's not about the human trust; it's about the trust with the devices, the trust with the user entities, right? So uh, I hope it's not going very technical. I mean, initially I wanted to make it very easy, right? So the user account, I mean, the way I said, if somebody has created a user account by hacking your system, so don't trust that system. I mean, then you will tell me like, okay, we normally don't trust. You have to put your username and then you have to post password, right? If you know the password, then we will assume it's a legitimate user, right? But think of this. We all came to this venue, right? Most of us is connected to the open Wi-Fi, right? But is that secure? I mean, I'm not telling you not to connect, but think of that. Is this network a secure network, right? We do trainings there. They say don't connect to public Wi-Fi, don't connect to airport Wi-Fi. Even if you have to connect, follow some basic or use your hotspot. But at in airport, my hotspot is not working. I have to do some work. Then I have to connect, right? So the conceptually, what happens is whenever you are trying to connect to the application, it will ask you to put username and password. Second thing is MFA. Then it will check from where you are connecting. Is your network secure? Are you login at the right time? I mean, is it some suspicious thing? Normally, you work from 5 to 9, and today you are logging it at 3 a.m. It's kind of a suspicious behavior. Why? I mean, there will be lot of false positive. False positive is a big challenge in the security domain. We get lot of false positive alerts, right? So these are the factor which we keep in mind while setting up the. That means never trust. Always verify. So we will verify your username and password, MFA, the location. You normally logs in from India. Why you are logging today from the Nigeria? Possibly your account is hacked, right? Or you might have deployed some machine in the Nigeria. That is also a possibility. But still, it's a doubt. You are trying to log in at the wrong time from some suspicious location or the location where we don't even have the business, right? So that means never trust, always verify, right? So what is zero trust? Is a information security model that denies access to applications and data by default. Okay, so we in the zero trust we assume that everyone is on the unsecure network. Even my own employee is on the unsecure network, right? So that's why we tell always never trust, always verify, right? And zero trust is not a tool that you download it from some site and run it and it will provide you. It's just a concept. You have to build your application, your infrastructure according to that concept. It's not something, okay, give me 2 kilo of zero trust and I will spray over the entire organization. No, it's the concept. And no, even after applying this concept, never trust, always verify, attack can still happen, right? Uh, so there is a this thing called I have written castle and moat approach, right? Just a buzzword kind of a thing. I'll just try to explain. Castle and moat is like we have seen in the Disney cartoons. Or there is one castle, there is one this palace, and to enter that palace you have to cross a bridge, right? So the castle and moat approach is once you cross the bridge and enter the palace, that means you are the right person, you can access anything, right? The same is called perimeter based access. So if somebody crosses your firewall, enter your network, then even don't assume that that person is the right person. It could be the intruder also who might have gained somehow unethical access, right? So we don't follow the castle and moat approach, right? But why do we even talking about the zero trust? I mean, uh, let's think in this way. Like I mean, randomly once in a quarter we will have the town hall with our CEO or lot of Satya Nadella comes to India. One word he will be telling, we have to adopt a digital transformation, right? What is the definition of digital transformation? There is no exact definition. What is digital transformation? It is about adopting the latest technology, adopt the what is the latest. Like we want to do a more business with the digital transformation, right? So Microsoft came to your organization and they said we will do a digital transformation for you, right? So we have, I mean, in digital transformation doesn't come for free. You will be investing a millions of dollars, right? But at one point, you are, if you are not able to protect, then your CEO will say we invested 10 million, whatever X amount we invested, but where is our productivity? We are now going down. I mean, uh, you promised me many things, right? So it's our responsibility to whatever the digital transformation we are adopting, how much security we are implementing in it. That's the challenge, right? Uh, for say, I mean, everyone is nowadays watching the Shark Tanks, and everyone is getting a feeling of starting a startup, right? Let's say I built a food delivery is a very common thing. Food delivery app. I kind of invested good amount in building the app, right? But somehow while doing writing that app, somehow I left few open endpoints, right? So generally, what happens is someday attack will happen, and next day the news will come. Uh, the this many users' data is compromised, right? And what we will do next day, we'll say, Baba, this app is not secure. Let's remove it from the mobile. I mean, we will immediately remove that app. So that is somehow your business is getting the bad name also, right? Uh, and there is another thing. Companies are investing a lot. I mean, there will be investors, right? Next, if your company is listed in the stock market, next day you will see the stock is going down because security attack happened. Then investor will start dancing over your head. I mean, why why is this happening, right? So that is the reason why we need these all new principle called zero trust. So zero trust has a three very important principle: verify explicitly, means never trust, always verify; use least privilege access; and the third one is assume breach, right? So let's take an example of this place only, right? This is only meant for I mean, who are working in the technical domain. I mean, anyone else can join, but mostly these sessions make sense to them, right? So if even anyone enters this premises, I mean, they will have access to every room. They can go to any room, right? So what we do is use least privilege access. So I mean, if you are entering this room, consider this is a paid kind of a conference, and you have to pay for each and every session, right? Then what we will do by the principle of least privilege, we will only grant access over your card for the sessions for which you made a payment, right? Not all sessions, right? Uh, I mean, just a random example. So, in the same thing happens inside the company also. If you are a HR, then you will only have access to the HR domain, not to the financial data or market data, right? So, that's the second. Use least privilege access. If you need a read access, you will only have the read access, right? Because generally, if you are doing the development work, and what we feel like, we are doing some developer, we are writing the script, and we get frustrated. Okay, work is not getting done with this much of access. I need a um, subscription owner access because I want to deploy something, right? And then we start shouting, okay, give me the subscription access, else this work will get delayed, right? But then understand, subscription owner is someone who was having, who can have a maximum, he can delete the resources, he can do a lot of things, right? So we have to adopt. I mean, least privilege does not mean that you will not give you the access. Identify the right access. I mean, you should not do that. Okay, I need a contributor access, but it should not be like I am trying to, like, the cost of my product is 10 rupees, but I will tell market 15 rupees, because at the end they will do the negotiation. The cost will come to 10. So you should not do these things in the like we need a contributor access, but I will tell I need a owner access. then they say, "नहीं नहीं owner, I'll not give. I'll at least give you the contributor access." Right? These kind of negotiation doesn't work. You need a contributor access. Break it. There are custom permissions also. Identify the requirement and then ask for the access. And the last important principle, which is the core of the session, is the assume breach. If breach happens, right? I mean, how much it can make a damage. Our responsibility is to make a. I mean, we cannot avoid the breaches, but if breach is happening, then minimize. I mean, set up the things. Set up the thing in such a way that if attack will happen, we can segment that user. I mean, we can cut the access, or we will at least we will get lot of notifications, right? So we will be talking today about this assume breach, but the before that, a basic pillars of zero trust. Uh, Validate user with the strong authentication, right? If you getting a feeling that user is compromised, then you should have a system that can force user to change his credential immediately, right away, right? Device integrities. I mean, if your device is connected to the public network, you are trying to access some application, block that access. These are features available. By the way, these are features already available in the Azure Active Directory. We just have to set up the configuration, right? Or network should be segmented, subdivided. In some companies where they have the financial data, they keep a separate network for it, secure network for it, right? Implicit trust, no, we cannot give implicit trust to anyone, like giving access to all the employee over particular folder. That is not acceptable. If you are meant for this, we will give you access over this particular point only. uh, and some advanced concepts are there if you work on the data DLP, data loss preventions, or AIP, Azure AIP, or there you do the classification of the data, sensitive data, then we can apply the encryption or the sensitive or the block kind of a rules, right? So there are some pillars of zero trust where you have to prevent identities. Identities means users, not only the users, the applications, right? When we write a Azure function, we generate the application ID. That is also comes falls under the identities. Then we have to protect the devices, application, network, data, infrastructure. So these all falls under the principle of the zero trust, right? Any questions so far? Okay. So let's not assume that everything which is behind the corporate firewall is kind of open network, right? Whenever this layoff email comes to the employee, within a 5 minute, it will also come on the news channel. How it is happening? News channel doesn't have the corporate account, right? Somebody is leaking the information from inside only, na? That is just an example. I mean, that's not the right use case. So there is always a risk of the insider attack also, right? So these are the, I mean, we cannot assume like because insider attacker is inside the network, but still things are going out, right? How you can prevent those all things? I mean, if these inside even the insider attack happens, then there should be a limited access to everyone. Insider attacker who is making the attack, if he doesn't have the access over the all kind of data, then attack will be limited. So these all are part of the assume breach, and there is no specific tool to stop the assume breach. That's the reason I named my session as a reduce. If attack is chances of attack is 80%, then we will try to reduce this to 50%. That is the concept, right? So, uh, if we have a like while developing the application, if we have this kind of mindset that we are always thinking of attack can happen, we will let's try to cover it more and more and more. Then we can reduce these all things, right? Limit the We talked about limit the blast radius. So blast radius, I mean, from the definition point of view, it's like uh, it's like you have the some. techniques or tactics with you that will reduce the damage. I mean, um, if some attack happens, we can segment that network immediately, or we can cut off that user, or we can. Uh, uh, Generally, when the ransomware attack happens, right, what they do, they will encrypt your data, and then they will ask for a money to give you a decryption key, right? But in case if we are already maintaining the backups, right, we can kind of do a negotiation with them. We already have a backup. Then they will tell you like, we will release your data over the dark web, right? So how we are classifying the data? I mean, if we are where we are storing the data, if the user is storing it in his own machine and not applying the logs, then that is the wrong thing, right? So there the classification of data can come, and that will kind of limit the blast radius, right? Uh, and if we follow these all principles like verify end-to-end encryptions, drive threat detection and improve defenses, or use analytics to get visibility, uh, and like if we use the threat detections, right? Then these are the things with which we can reduce the blast radius, right? So we watch movies, right? In that they say we have an agency called Raw, which is working in parallel. They are also gathering the data. Same kind of thing also happens in the security. We call it as a threat intelligence, right? Threat intelligence is a team who is also keeping an eye on everything. Last week we were talking internally, and one of our senior member explained us how this threat intelligence works. Right? Threat intelligence is not only about the engineers; it's about old bureaucrats also. We don't know who is work. Like we have a database that called threat intel, where we will be getting the information about the malicious activities or possibilities of the malicious attack activities, right? uh, when this I mean that person gave us an example of this Ukraine and Russia war. So that threat intel team is comprised of press reporters, analysts, bureaucrats. So when this attack happened, when this war started, they had a prediction that the attack can go till the power stations, right? So we have information. Somehow we got the attack will happen to the power station, right? Now how we can limit it? Limit it. We will try to put extra layer before it, or we will, if we have some chemicals or nuclear reactor, we can turn it down, because if attack happens, and if attack happens over the nuclear reactor, then country is gone, right? We can switch it off. So these similar kind of information maintained by the threat intel persons also. They are also keeping an eye on the dark web, right? But this information we have, like threat intel is a database, we have the list of the IP address, right? But it's not like somebody is coming every day running a query, give me the list of malicious IP address. They got 100 malicious IP address. Then they cannot set up things over the internet for these all. I mean, they cannot set up some rules and regulations or the policies. That will take time, right? There should be some kind of automation behind it, right? Or some kind of a use cases we can build. If IP is coming from these threat, the list of the IPs which are there in the threat intel, then block the network, right? These all things comes via automation, right? There, and we call this as a visibility, like keeping an eye, doing the continuous monitoring. These all the part of the visibilities, right? And let's move to the another slide. So I said like I work in the team, I mean the tool called Microsoft Sentinel, and that tool is part of the SIM platform, security information and event management, right? We collect the telemetry from the machine. Based on that telemetry, we try to apply analytics over it, and we try to identify the attacks, right? I was talking about the kind of attack if user has logged in from some restricted location. I mean, I know my business doesn't happen in the Russia, but if somebody logs in from the Russia, then how will I identify? So in the SIM tool, I am continuously collecting the data from my network, right? In that, I built a use case. If the um, uh, origin country is USSR, Russia, something, then alert, send out a notification, send out the incident, right? So that's called SIM. I mean, it's just just a simple use case, but there are a lot many advanced kind of a use case available in the SIM, right? Um, does anyone know about PIM, privilege identity management, right? So just an example, I want to build a use case. If some user who has been marked as a risky sign in, and I and requesting the PIM access, PIM elevated request, right? This is a suspicious behavior because he logged in from the unsecured device and now he is asking for an elevated privilege, right? Mostly the PIM is in the auto approval mode, right? But how we can block it? So we have to do the correlation over that data. Like the data information, the login information will come from the Azure Active Directory. In the Azure Active Directory, we collect a data called sign-in logs. So we are collecting the information about the sign-in logs, right? And the PIM comes in the audit log, right? We have to do some kind of correlation, and human cannot do this kind of correlation. So we rely on the technologies called AI and ML. How exactly it works, it's not disclosed, but they have some trained system which uh, apply these all things, right? This is just an example, right? Um, so in the SIM, we collect the telemetry. We can collect the telemetry from any cloud, uh, all sign-in users, sign-in activities, devices, and we try to generate a meaningful alerts. Meaningful alert means my SOC team will be monitoring, right? And when you go into the service-based company, they will factor it like this much of data will come. We need 10 engineers, right? But if you are generating hundreds of incident, then how 10 folks can maintain, right? So that's the reason I said meaningful should not be a false positive incident now and then. I mean, if we keep generating the alert for each and everything, then I mean, for us also, like if we are getting the random emails for each and every activity, what we will do is we create a folder, set a rule, everything will go in that folder, and then we look into that folder once in a month or once in a year, kind of a thing, right? So this should not also. These are the things. I mean, if we are generating the meaningful, then it's good for everyone. So here comes in a tool called Microsoft Sentinel. Uh, has anyone worked on the Sentinel or heard of this Microsoft Sentinel? Right. So it's a cloud native SIM. Before Microsoft Sentinel, there are a lot of leaders like Splunk, QRadar, and those are very stable tools. I mean, uh, you cannot do the apple to apple comparison between these tools. But the challenge is with those tools is we are shifting towards the digital transformation. We are adopting the cloud techniques, right? So the one way that I feel to monitor anything, I cannot kind of keep a team who will be monitoring the product, which is doing the monitoring of the infrastructure, kind of a jumble kind of a sentence. So what I'm trying to say is, if I'm using the Splunk, then I cannot deploy a five-member team who is monitoring the health of the Splunk. Because if Splunk goes down, then entire security will go down, right? So that is the reason we industry is now moving towards the cloud native security information and event platform, event manager, right? So Sentinel is on the cloud. We just need one or two folks for kind of a keeping an eye. We don't need a full team because ultimately it's run from the data center. We have engineers at the Microsoft. They will be maintaining these all things, right? We only pay whatever we are consuming, right? And so it's Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud native SIM which use AI and ML techniques to identify the uh, abnormal behaviors and then generate the incident, right? What is the second concept is the security orchestration and automated response. That's a SOAR, right? Um, let's say I built a solution and I'm going to the company and telling them, sir, I made a solution where I can generate the incident if any risky kind of a thing happens, right? That person will say, okay, see, these kind of thing, anyone can build it, right? But how you are acting on it, SLAs we might have heard. What is the SLA? 1 hour is the SLA for, I mean, 1 hour is too much for the high priority incident. But if we are telling 1 hour, then how we will be reducing the blast radius, right? In 1 hour, the user will make a lateral movement inside many things, right? We have to act it immediately, and there we need a automation, right? If simple automation, simple use case, somebody logs in from the suspicious network or the infected device. What are the immediate thing? Immediately, only the automation can run because user will make a call. Lot of things, right? We can block the his access over many things. We can block his mailbox. We can immediately send out a notification to his manager over the Teams, or we can generate even an email to the to our SOC, right? Security operations. I mean, we we know like if our laptop is if we are losing our laptop, then we have to inform our SOC team, right? But that activity will take 1 or 2 hours, right? But what is the automation? So SOAR is that security orchestration and automation that can be integrated with the SIM to generate the things, right? And then um, in the Microsoft stack, we have Microsoft Defender, right? You are using the Microsoft Defender for looking into the alerts of the endpoints, and you are using the Sentinel for the user-specific alert, right? How many windows my SOC person will open? They will not. Everyone is working from home. They are just using one laptop. I mean, company is also not budgeting for multiple monitors. Even if they budget for the multiple monitor, where will he keep? In Mumbai and Pune, you know the cost of the flat, how much it is. Like he will just have one small desk, right? So there we need a consolidated dashboard that is doing the what is alert. Alert is a I mean what is incident? Incident is a combination of the alert theoretically, right? But how we are combining it, that is the AI and ML and the tools like Microsoft Sentinel. They are expert in this domain. They have lot of capabilities of doing these all things, right? Uh, these are certain kind of use cases, but before the use cases, I will show you something on the portal. Just a minute. Just a minute. I'll try to do a demo. Ah. So this is my Sentinel, uh, a small demo environment. So I'm collecting the telemetry from my own Azure Active Directory. I'm trying to uh, I set up the lot of integration in it, right? And I will show you the data as well. So this is the data. It's taking bit time. Sometimes when you try to give a demo, these things will not help you. That's a tradition. The data load. So I wanted to. It's too much of data. It's too much of data. I mean, even my tool cannot handle it, right? So that is where Microsoft apply AI and ML and show you the meaningful information. We are trying to fetch the data for last 48 hours. So, I mean, if that is the challenge with the existing on-premises tool, if you are inserting the lot of data, you might have done some kind of a solutioning, right? But you got some problematic things and you are started collecting a lot of data, then those tools can also go down. So I actually wanted to show you data and wanted to show you. I mean, these raw data will not make any meaning. I mean, we cannot generate any meaningful information with these raw kind of a data. We have to apply the analytics or AI ML capabilities, right? Ultimately, if I start showing this kind of a raw data to my CISO, they will say what you are showing. This does not make any sense, right? So if I show him this, just a minute. If I show him this view, the incident view, here are the incident which are generated. By the way, my these are some of the incident which I generated, right? If I show them this incident, or if I show them this raw data, this will make at least some sense for them, right? This is the something failed login attempt in auth prep, some Linux based logs or failed user login or potential. Oh my god, I am getting the brute force attack. Potential brute force attack. I mean, brute force attack is something somebody is trying to guess your password, right? They are entering the password wrong for the multiple times. We set a limit, right? And guessing a password is not a big deal, right? If I asked you to put all your credit cards here or a debit card here along with your PAN card, I can guess your password because ultimately most of us is putting the password as your date of birth only, na? Maximum, like either it will be your date of birth or your birth year, that is your pin for most of us, right? That is where this principle of zero trust comes in, right? If you are if you losing your wallet, then how you're protecting your debit and ATM card? You are putting all the information together, right? So this is where uh, this thing comes in. So this is a tool which can generate us meaningful alerts, right? So I was talking about certain use cases, right? And how these use cases can help us in reducing the blast radius, right? Let's say impossible travel to an atypical location, right? Right now I am in Pune, and immediately or within a 4 or 5 hours, same account logs in from the US or some other. How it is possible? I cannot travel, right? Because still that supersonic planes are still in the development. I cannot go within a 4 hours. So generating these kind of a notification or signing event from an unfamiliar location. Every business, right, has a policies, rivalries going on. Someone in someone is trying to log in from Nigeria or some other place, right? That is a risky thing, right? So these are kind of use cases, and these are the very common type of a use cases. There will be a lot of use cases you can develop it with the uh, tools like Microsoft Sentinel and set out the notification, right? You can collect the data from the tool called Microsoft Defender. So in the Sentinel, to collect the data, we have to set up something called Microsoft. We have to set up the data connectors. Data connector is what they will try to collect the telemetry. Telemetry is the sophisticated name given to the data, right? If you are in the security world, just call it as a telemetry, hit and press. So we collect the telemetry from the Azure Active Directory, anything, AWS cloud, Google cloud, any cloud. If solution is not there, then we will develop the solution, right? And then we also collect the data from the defender for endpoint, right? Antivirus, right? And then we do the correlation. Correlation is the important, how efficiently you are doing the correlation. Ultimately, in this tool also you have to write some queries called KQL queries, very much similar to the SQL query, where you have to apply the join. You cannot simply apply the join over the two table. It will generate lot of results. But how efficiently you are thinking of a conditions and then applying the join and trying to generate the data, that is important, right? So how tight integration you are doing, because another challenge here is you are in the cloud model, consume kind of a model, like whatever you are collecting you have to pay for it, so you cannot also start collecting each and everything, right? So there you have to do the brainstorming. What all logs do I really need the audit logs, or I will start collecting the audit log only after the attack happens, because we are getting now pushed from our CISO that why you were not collecting the audit logs, now start collecting everything. So we have to do a calculation, some risky or calculated risk kind of a thing, and then identify the data which you want to collect, right? So like Microsoft Defender has I mean, Defender is a suite uh, that has lot of products like Microsoft 365 Defender antivirus. Then we have the Defender for the endpoint, uh, which can push policies, which can reduce the attack surface reductions, or help you in identifying the shadow IT. Shadow IT is something like using the unrestricted tools, right? We had a session in the morning and sir were explaining about the how efficiently we can use the Office 365, right? But for the same thing which he was explaining, we try to do it with some freeware tools, right? So when you deploy the freeware tool, that is called a shadow IT, and it's very difficult to stop the shadow IT because a random user can download anything, right? So tools like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or a Defender for Office, these are the tools which can actually help you in stopping that shadow IT things. Uh, we have this Mcache, Microsoft Cloud App Securities, Defender for Office. We can set up a notification. We are collecting, let's take an example of Defender for Office 365, right? We are collecting the data like email specific data. Somebody is forwarding the email to the outside the organization, right? So we can set up those kind of notification, or we have a rules in the mailbox, right? Somebody has set up a rule to forward all the important emails to a specific email ID, right? So we have to identify those kind of suspicious rules as well, and do a correlation over that data, right? So these all tools will help us in protecting the organization. If we are planning it on the principle of the zero trust, then these tools will definitely help us in reducing the blast radius and getting the cost out of the digital transformation, because CEO will talk about digital transformation, sales team will get you the project, but ultimately it will be the developer who has to adopt these kind of a mindset and generate the kind of a structured architecture, right? There are a lot of tools inside the Azure also that can kind of help you in preventing the zero trust. And why today I talked about the zero trust, because nowadays Satya Nadella also talk about it. So if he is talking about something, that means there is a chance in that product. I mean, if you start working in that product, I did the same thing. Once Satya Nadella talked about Sentinel, I said, okay, I will also start working on Sentinel, and I got a good job. So you should also. That was a joke, but then if CEOs are talking about it, then it's a good thing, right? So yeah, that's all about my session. Hope I made some sense, right? It's a very high level concept. It will take ages to adopt it, and we don't have any kind of a ready-made solution to do that, right? And a very much thanks to our organizers and the sponsors for conducting this. Defender can prevent the those. Sentinel is a kind of a monitoring tool, but if you are using the automation with it, you can prevent it up to some extent. We have to there is a nowadays they have the libraries. Lot of automations are already there. You just have to kind of do it. These are the things. Around